So we're going to step towards each other. Turn your right foot out about 45 degrees, put your weight on it, sink into it, place your heel and just touch the floor and come back. Right, so that's your very basic. Yeah. What I want you to do is turn your right foot out again, sink into it, keep the weight on it absolutely all the time. Float the foot forward and widen it very slightly, put it down, and now move the weight onto this foot. And that's the first time you actually shifted the weight. So you can see between my feet, there's a slight gap. Yep. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to create the weight width of our own hip, in effect, with our stepping. So it doesn't have to be too big, but you don't want one foot directly in front of the other. So you can see now there's definitely no gap. Yep. So turn your right foot out, sink into it, release the other foot, float it and widen it, place it, and now move on to it. Okay. Lift the toe up, stay there, lift the toe up. Now, you need to sink all your weight into that foot to be able to lift that foot off the floor. So sink it in so the foot can just lift off. Okay, just try the other foot, so feet together. Turn the left foot out slightly. Settle, float and widen, place heel, move on to it. And sink back, you're going to bring the foot back. So 100% in your back foot, really drop it into the back foot. Now, dropping it into the back foot means that you actually have to relax the hip. So if you're standing on this foot, this is your left hip here, isn't it? So if my weight is on the left foot, when I come back, so I've gone to here, I've gone forwards, I come back, don't try and jerk the foot back in, because look, you see what I'm doing with my hip, or the other way, you try and do that. You need to let this hip actually rest into the sole of the foot. So you have to consciously let go of your hips. Hips are a major issue for a lot of people. A lot of people are very locked up around the hips, particularly the sacroiliac joints, such as the joints. There's your sacrum, and the joint between the pelvis and the sacrum here and here. This needs to be allowed to be flexy slightly. It's not meant to flex very much, by the way. It's a very tight joint, but it does need a little bit of movement so that the legs and the hips can move better. So when I'm always trying to get you to relax your hips, and partly because I want you to relax the buttock muscles, because everybody grips up the buttocks. And when you grip up the buttocks, you're actually gripping up that joint. So flexibility is really diminished in a large way. So turn your right foot out slightly, settle into it, release the foot, float and widen it, and move the weight onto it as soon as the heel lands on the floor. Now sit back. Now here's where you have to relax the joints here. Relax the joint, really settle your bum. Now, if you could lift the foot in really easily, and it was no effort, and your balance felt good, then you probably got it right. Turn your left foot out to the corner, settle into it, float and widen, place it, now move forwards. Sit back, settle into it, and this joint here, really relax your hip bone, as it were. Well, you can't relax your hip bone. It's a bone. You simply can't do it, but you can relax the muscles that surround the hip bone. And that's, of course, what I'm asking you to do, and relax the buttock as well. Turn your right foot out, settle into it, float, widen. Second the heel lands, move on to it. Then sitting back, lift up your toe. Here, relax it and the bum. Let's let everything relax. One more on the left. Turn the left foot out. Yeah, sink into it, float, widen, heel goes down, you move forwards. Sitting back, release here, lift up and in. So we're looking for really controlled movement. And what happens is that when you first start doing this stuff, it feels quite a bit clunky maybe, unless you've done a lot of dance or various types of movement. It feels quite clunky, and you can't relate to the muscles. It's quite hard to get to them and soften them. But gradually you get better and better at it. So it just takes practice. So the next thing about the stepping process is this: turn your left foot out. Sink. Now you're going to keep dropping your body until your front heel lands on the ground. So you drop, release the foot, you keep dropping, float and widen, and then you can stop sitting down and you can move forwards. Okay, so just bring your foot back any old how. So this is what people generally do. If I go this way, what they generally do is, I'll do this foot so you can see this leg moving forwards. So what they do is they do it in 2 stages. They think, sink, stop sinking, place the foot, now move forwards. That's 3 stages really, but I'm not really counting the moving forwards. So in other words, the placing of the foot becomes a separate job all on its own, but it shouldn't be like that. You have to keep sinking so that the sinking is part of the stepping out as well. So what I do is, if I do the same thing again, but correctly, I go sink and release the foot and place it. I'm still sinking. Now I move forwards. So I overdid the sink so that you could hopefully see it. If I do it once more, overdoing it again. So I go sink into it, releasing the foot. I keep releasing the foot. I keep sinking, and then I place, and now I move forwards. Okay, so this obviously works the leg you're standing on far, far harder, but it doesn't have to. It's only if you forget to release the foot early. So this is what people do. They go sink. Oh, I forgot to release the foot. Okay, so now they've got to keep sinking whilst still putting the foot out. They've left it too late. So as soon as you transfer your weight onto your, in this case now facing me, turn your right foot out. As soon as you transfer your weight onto that foot, release this one and start to let it float out. Ready? Onto your right foot, sink, bend your right knee, 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 bend it, and now you can move forwards and you can stop sinking. Now stay there, sitting back, toe up, this hip, let it all settle and just let this foot rise in. Yeah, we'll try the other foot. Turn your left foot out. Don't forget, release this foot fairly early on. So release it as you're settling and expand it, widen it, and now move on to it. Okay, so, I mean, I've taught this stuff for a very, very long time. And certainly the way I was initially taught was, let's say I'm going to do a movement going this way, right? So this is how I was initially taught. And it's stuff I've had to undo. You know, it's problem. It makes learning easier. But then it creates problems because you've got to undo it later on because it's not actually correct really, but it makes learning easier. So let's say I'm doing brush knee and side step here, okay, and I'm just doing this move, right? You don't need to know what the move is. It's not important. This is how I was taught. Onto this foot, settle down, place your foot. Look, it's a separate job. It's like that has a separate move all on its own, and then move on to it. Okay, it can still look good, but it actually is technically incorrect because for a second, your body is frozen in this position. Then you go here, and it's just a leg doing something. Nothing else was involved at all, purely the leg by itself. So if I do it correctly, I should go, weight on the right, I'm releasing that foot, I'm sinking, I'm stepping, there it is, I've finished sitting down, and now the leg was already out and I can finish off. So we're looking for continuous movements. Continuous movement of every part of your body. So nothing ever stops, because as I've said in the past, if something stops and doesn't move, in effect, it's dead. You know, it is or stagnated. And stagnation means it's become locked probably. And therefore it lacks flexibility. It's become like a twig that you can snap fairly easily. So you need to be like a willow rather than be like a dried up old oak or something. It's today's fabulous analogy. Right, okay, so let's just try that one with turn your left foot out. Okay, forget the hands, you don't need to do anything with them. So you are going to settle into the foot, you're going to release the foot and you're going to widen, you still haven't finished thinking, and then you move forwards. To come back, just lift the toe up. You've got to settle everything into this leg, really drop your bum, let it release and bring the foot in. Okay, turn the other side, so turn this foot out, sink, keep sinking whilst you float and widen, and then move on to it. And then just sit back and you know what to do, toe up, settle here so that this can just come in. And if it was easy to bring your foot in, as I say, you got it right because you allowed your body to settle into the one foot.